You guys can make fun of me for talking about the tropical storm that's coming.
She's adorable.
We ready to go?
Thank you.
She wanted to leave work early.
We've been ready to go, and Jessica just gave us permission to make fun of her because there's a tropical storm headed to the general vicinity of Puerto Rico, and Jessica was saying she needs to leave early to go make hurricane preparations.
I don't have any water. I don't have any bottled water in my whole place.
It's a hurricane. Just open up your window and yes, collect it. It's straight from the heavens.
We have a tropical storm every day at 3 p.m.
There was one yesterday while I was in the side studio, and someone I was on Zoom with asked if there was a ghost in the room because I kept looking around. I couldn't see out the window, and I was looking all over like, where's that noise coming from?
It was a very loud storm, and every time I hear a loud storm, I wonder about the original people who saw thunder and lightning and what they made of the unknown.
The gods are angry with us. We must sacrifice more.
I want to get to some sports stuff in a second, and we will. A correction, by the way, Jimmy Butler and Dan Marino are a day apart. Jimmy Butler's birthday was yesterday, and Dan Marino's birthday is today.
Damn it, so Jimmy Butler's older than we thought? Oh.
He's a day older.
Every day matters.
That
Those
$50
knees.
million in a few years is going to really hurt when he's a day older.
His knees are a day older than I thought they were.
Age times Tibbs minutes is like 1.2, so he's really like 36.1.
I wanted to put it on the poll, Chris.
How much older is he than Austin Hooper?
Put it on the poll at LeBatardShow. Is Jimmy Butler's age plus Thibodeau something that makes him 36 instead of 33?
Yeah, when you weigh the Thibodeau minutes, that's a day is a month.
I mean, I did want to talk to you, though, given your background and your history about what Ron DeSantis just did as a publicity stunt, as a political stunt, a reported $12 million. I don't know what's accurate there on how much this costs, but sending 50 migrants to Martha's Vineyard to make a big show of sending the elites our immigration and border problem. 50 human beings that I imagined as my parents, 50 human beings who didn't seem to know where they were when they were dropped off at Martha's Vineyard and became the problem of somebody else that wasn't Florida. But it felt like what happened with the Mario boat lift and this city in the 80s, where Fidel Castro emptied his jails and his undesirables and just sent them to our shores. And it just felt not very American, but I guess things are happening every day around here that no longer feel like the Statue of Liberty welcoming or liberty welcoming your poor huddled masses yearning to breathe free.
It's tough, Dan, because I think about people where I'm from is Sudan, and if you told them, hey, you get to America, but they're going to send you to a different part of America, they wouldn't care. Like, oh, but we're here, right? Like, yeah, you're here. They wouldn't care. As a matter of fact, many of the refugee relocation that happens here, you get sent to not nice places like Martha's Vineyard, but some of the less populated places in the country. That's why there's a large Sudanese population in places like Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Nebraska, and why if you go to Minneapolis, it is almost entirely Somali now. It is a stronghold of the Somali community because that's where they got relocated to Minnesota. And so from that standpoint, sending them to Martha's Vineyard as opposed to sending them back where they came from, as from the background of an immigrant, I'm like, yeah, okay. Now, from the standpoint of, was this the most effective use of your state budget?
$12 million.
Probably not. And it is absolutely a publicity stunt. But it's hard for me to kind of be like, this is outrageous, because it's like, again, he could have sent them back, and that would have been truly terrible.
I think, A, it's a publicity stunt. B, this is going to interfere with them probably being able to seek legal counseling or asylum as quickly, being in a place where there's not as much resources. Although now it's probably going to become a bigger news story, and hopefully these people will be able to find help sooner. That was clearly not the case.
I just don't like human beings treated
they're pawns. They're
as
political pawns.
propaganda
Absolutely.
tools.
They're pawns. You showed them. Private jet to Martha's Vineyard. Ooh, big bad Ronnie. I I always think that the border security thing in Florida is so lazy. Number one, our border is Georgia and Alabama. We don't have a border with the people that he's putting these actual faces to this issue. Like they're coming over sometimes on retrofitted pickup trucks in the ocean. It's not really, border security is not an issue in Florida. It doesn't have a border with another country.
The desperation of people who are looking to America for its freedoms, I really do fear what is coming in the future. I know you hear it from me all the time. I'm guessing it probably dampens the mood around here where we're playful, and I seem perpetually scared the last couple of years because so many of the things that are happening simply don't feel like the America that I was signing up for. I'm guessing most people listening to this, no matter what their political allegiances, are saying that this place is so divided that they don't totally recognize it.
I understand, like, the America your parents were signing up for had its challenges for them. They knew that. I know my grandparents, they left everything behind to come here, and they knew that they were starting from zero. But they knew that this country afforded those people the opportunity to work hard and get back and give them freedom. But they knew they were going to a place I wasn't necessarily happy to see them. I think the discouraging thing is in 2020, we're kind of reverting back to not being happy to see them. And this being an actual conversation the way it was back then after all this time passing, and it felt like wounds were healing, and now we've just picked at scabs.
If you keep making the other the enemy, and if the starting point on the pandemic was we can't agree over selfishness on wearing masks, then what's it going to be with gun laws and anarchy when there's food scarcity and water scarcity and climate change takes some of our shores? Like, what's all this? If we can't agree on masks, if we can't agree on what freedom looks like for people who come to this country, what are we going to agree on when things get even more and more desperate?
I think things got plenty desperate over the last few years, and that's why we got more divided. It is really disappointing that politics has just reverted back to the lowest common denominator. And freedom, or at least the idea of freedom, is just reserved for, that's reserved for me, whether it be handouts like we've seen with Brett Favre, or just the ability to live your life here and have access to the same government programs that permanent residents have here. It's an ugly time, and I thought it was going to get better than it was going to get worse than it got better. And January 6th kind of showed us exactly how much longer we had to go. My fear is that it's only going to be more divided as we enter another election cycle.
Why would you believe anything else? Why would you believe that it's going to get any less divided when it's being fomented this way?
Right, and not only that, it's like we've shown that there's just no consequences so far. And I know the legal process is going to take a lot of time for what happened on January 6th, and it's kind of like a Nathan for you kind of bit where we don't even talk about January 6th anymore just because there's top secret documents inside of Mar-a-Lago.
Week 1 of the NFL, baby.
But, I mean, the other thing, too, there's a couple things here. One is that Ron DeSantis, by the way, in his political advertisements that aired during football quite a lot, just sort of portrays himself as a very normal guy. That's, for me, is the most kind of surreptitious part of all of it, is that he can play very much to this right-leaning Fox News base, and then when it comes time to run for the general election against Charlie Crist, he makes himself seem very normal. The other part, too, because you mentioned the divided part of politics, I do think, because we are very often accused of being liberal-leaning and all that, I think the Democrats have a huge burden here as it relates to, I want to say it's a House race in Michigan where there is a very normal Republican, by their standards, who acknowledges January 6th and acknowledges that Biden won the election, but he was running in a primary against a candidate who was, January 6th denying and all of that, and the Democrats actually put their money behind that candidate in the primary because they thought they had a better chance of beating him in the general. And that was so just backwards in terms of we're trying to, the Democrats are trying to seem, Joe Biden is giving speeches about how, we believe in, the rule of democracy. We believe in all these things as a country. And then politically, you're just trying to win another seat. rather than just trying to fight in a fair playing field against in a House race. So it's not, I mean, Republicans have a large part to play in terms of fomenting that polarization, but the Democrats did some stuff in these primaries that I didn't like, especially based on the messages that they try to run on.
Well, Billy Corbin in all his documentaries has interviewed like GOP strategists, and the GOP strategy for several years has been like, let's win. Let's win. They won a seat with a shadow candidate that existed, but not really as a political person. They were just a pawn. And you know where the penalty fell? It fell at the desk of Governor DeSantis, who's now trying to crack down on election integrity. There was like a $20,000 fine because this actually helped the Republicans in that instance. They are really good at exposing where the inefficiencies are to win seats and gain power. Look at the Senate. Look at how many seats there are versus how many people there are in this country. It's not an actual representation of its population. They know exactly how to keep power and gain power. You see what happened in Alaska about now all of a sudden one of those kooky situations where rank voting doesn't work in their favor and they want to redo it.
How many times a day do you guys pick up a news item, and how many times a day? Because this is now happening to me multiple times a day where I put down my phone and I'm like, what are we doing? Just a general, what are we doing? All over the place. When I'm watching a Vegas politician accused of murder.
That's a crazy story.
Accused of murder because a reporter is reporting on some of the bad stuff that he's doing. He tries to cover up the bad stuff by trying to murder the reporter, allegedly.
Not trying to murder.
Murdering.
Not trying to murder. Allegedly murdering.
And smiling in court.
Yeah, I see these stories about once an hour, Dan. You can only take so much.
Let's segue flippantly, lightly to Buck Showalter not understanding social media in a way that's delightful and I feel like predictable. This is how the old skipper of the Mets should answer a question about social media.
Somebody actually said to me the other day, hey, did you read the thing on Twitter or something? I think when I'm done, maybe I'm going to join that. Should I? Yes. Why? It will enhance my life and I will enjoy my life more. What's the difference between, seriously, we can talk about this off somewhere. What's the difference between TikTok and Twitter and FaceTime and all the other things? See, y'all are all rolling your eyes. What is the difference between TikTok and Twitter? Twitter.
TikTok's a video. Dancing.
Buck don't dance.
No.
Buck don't dance.
Tweeter.
I love his attitude. It's healthier than the rest of us. He's just not paying attention to any of it. And at the end, Buck don't dance.
Is he doing a thing? He's got to know that, like, everybody kind of knows that TikTok is a dance. Like, you might not be on it, you might not watch it, but he's doing a thing there.
I don't think my parents know what TikTok is.
Maybe I'm.
My parents definitely don't know what TikTok is. They know what Twitter is, though. They know Facebook for sure.
FaceTime?
They know FaceTime, yes.
No, I'm saying, but he called he said he meant Facebook, but he called it FaceTime.
Or did he mean FaceTime?
No, he was talking about like Twitter, TikTok,
His generation's the generation that ruined Facebook. He knows what Facebook is.
But do it like I just can't fathom though, like not knowing what they are. You're basically saying you're opting out of news because even if you consume things in an old-fashioned way, you turn on the television, you read a newspaper, you watch the evening news. They still talk about TikTok on those platforms, right? There are still newspaper stories about what's going on, what TikTok is. You're basically saying, like, Buck Showalter is unplugged from the world, and he only reads, like, Baseball America or something like that.
David Sampson told us he didn't know about, what was it? He didn't know about Manti Te'o happening. Like, David Sampson's not an old man, and it definitely wasn't an old man when Manti Te'o happened. And he was so, into what he was doing for a living that whole thing flew over his head.
So it's just the myopia of like working in baseball or having an obsessive job.
The combination of being old and thinking that if you're Buck Showalter because Buck don't dance, that there's no need for you to connect in a place with your young employees over things that they care about. Like, that's the part to me that's interesting, that you have as a manager and leader of people zero interest in something that perhaps in your clubhouse is not quite, that they're not as ignorant about as you are.
I like that it's okay for older people to not be interested in things that younger people like, but often younger people do take a great interest in things that older people like. For example, Kevin Durant now is playing pickleball.
Tell me more. Now that you are America's foremost advocate for pickleball.
I think he's going to be amazing at that.
I don't know. That game didn't look very good. They were
working him.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's getting worse. It
was
Say
his
he
first.
getting
It
worse.
was his first game. You could tell he was getting better. The video was on. I posted it to my Instagram story. It's on Bleacher Report. He has an incredible wingspan, right? He could probably cover the entire court with his wingspan. If you gave him 2 paddles, I think he'd win. 1 paddle though, I don't know.
It's a lot of bending for him because pickleball, the ball doesn't bounce very high. And so he's 7 feet tall, trying to like bend down to a foot off the ground. I know he's got the arms to get there, but it's a major bend for him. I actually feel like being a tall basketball player might harm you in pickleball.
Well, Mike has a theory on this.
Yeah, my theory is that the NBA has for far too long allowed cheating in its sport. You know, we make fun. I was doing a gig and voice. You know,
we make fun.
We
Too
make
much
fun of the 1950s basketball players dribbling like this, crouched down with their hand over the ball. That's the way Dr. Naismith intended. Now we allow for all this carrying and all these shimmies and all these moves, and you're not even supposed to handle the ball that way. And we've been making fun of the white race for far too long because they look unathletic, because they're actually dribbling the way that Naismith intended.
The tube socks don't help in those instances. The short shorts don't help in those instances.
And maybe if Kevin Durant kept his hand over the ball, like the sport had always outlined in the laws, he'd have no trouble bending down. You got to bend down, protect the ball. It's all exposed if you're like this.
What's the other
But now
hand
you can
doing?
just, like,
What's the other hand doing?
go,
There you go.
try to hand check. Try to hand check. No, no more reachings, no more fouls. The game looks a lot prettier this way.
Hand checking was like a karate dojo.
For some
I don't know
reason,
how to hand
Jessica
check.
was
I've never-
being- she was hurt by
I played
Mike's hand
my
checking.
wrist hurts. I played basketball for like 2 months in 8th grade, and it did not go well. No one taught me what a foul was. And the first second they put me on the court, I fouled the shit out of some 8th grader because I was a soccer player, and I thought you could just push people out of the way to get the ball.
You were like Mike's dad at the tailgate. No one explained the rules
Exactly.
to you. So you kicked over a cornhole and then started arguing with the thugs.
No one
from
said
Kendall.
you can't just grab someone's arm when they're shooting and not let them shoot. Why not?
That seems like a good way to prevent the ball from going into the
You
basket.
can do it in soccer. You just kick the shit out of their shins till they get rid of it when you're an 8th grader.
Mike, let's play some more sound here of Kadarius Toney of the New York Giants. You like him? He's a Gator, a former Gator.
He's a former Gator, but he is explosive. If you watch him in college football, he was an absolute game breaker. And when he was healthy for the New York Giants, he was a hell of a weapon for them. And I was very confused because I like Kadarius Toney a lot. I wanted to see him play, and I liked the Giants last week because they finally have these weapons healthy. Toney, Barkley, Danny Dimes. You like their chances.
Do you? I mean, you did last week. You bet them. You bet them last week because it's the first time in about a year and a half they've been healthy.
I mean, they have a coach that's allegedly this brilliant offensive mind.
Dave Sweeney.
They're actually healthy, right? We haven't seen the Giants fully healthy in quite some time, so I was curious to see what this was. But Kadarius Toney didn't play barely.
And when he played, he played a play or two and did something, did he not?
His very first touch of the game, he took it for 20 yards. He played 7 snaps. I know he was a little injured in August, but he was totally healthy entering that game, and it was very odd. Very odd. Now, you're doing the thing with the media where, he's got to be a malcontent. How else would this explain why he's not out there? But he was very happy to get a dub as the New York Giant. He was caught photographed celebrating the missed kick. He loves actually winning a game as a New York Giant because that doesn't happen very often. But the media, in trying to frame a narrative, is trying to ask the questions like, hey, are you unhappy? What's going on with the snap counts? And they keep prodding. And maybe after like 12 of those questions, Kadarius Toney had probably had enough of it.
Are you disappointed you didn't play more, I guess, is kind of what...
I mean, bro, if I played 2 plays, 1 play, and we won, bro, I don't really care nothing about no getting in. Like, it's okay. You want $1? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
The dismissive, you want $1. I know exactly what you're trying to do here. I've answered this question 17 times already. why is the New York media being so unfair to Kadarius Toney? Because even in that moment, he's saying and doing all the right things. I'm just genuinely confused. Is it because he's a Gettleman guy? Why isn't he playing?
Oh, because you want tabloid headlines and you gather around the reason that they're pestering them that way is because they want their headlines. I don't have an answer for your question as to why he's not playing. I heard a lot of people complaining about this, but there's so much, for example, that I miss. I've thought that Minnesota's skill position players the last few years have propped up Kirk Cousins. That Kirk Cousins has looked better than he is or than I ever thought he was, because I think those skill guys are totally overwhelming. In the first week of the season, I'm watching and I'm like, well, wait a minute. It was only 23 points. Green Bay's defense was very good last year. And I'm saying to myself, because I can't do the math, well, was Mike Zimmer not? I mean, Justin Jefferson's as unstoppable as anything I've ever seen at the position, right? Nobody's going to disagree with that. He's gotten off to the start statistically, right? That suggests that Justin Jefferson statistically is about as productive as anyone who's ever played the position through the early part of his career. And they make a coaching change, and there are a lot of coaches in the league now who are younger and more forward-thinking than I imagine Mike Zimmer to be.
Yeah, and Justin Jefferson had a great statistical game, but he was also open quite a lot and open with like 18 yards around him. And so, yes, he's an amazing player, but you also have to give some credit to Kevin O'Connell. And look, he's another branch off the McVay tree. I don't know if these guys just have offense figured out better than everybody else. I've always kind of leaned towards your side of the argument in terms of like, all right, what's really the difference between all the coaches? But it now seems like there is a substantial difference between anyone that knows how to run this particular offense and get their receivers space and everybody else.
Woody, it's scheming, right? Like what they did is had Justin Jefferson all across the formation. He lined out outside 41 times, he lined up in the slot 12. He lined up at tight end once. He was in the backfield twice. Like, they're scheming to get him around. He had motion plays on 7 plays. He targeted on 4 of those motions. He's getting into a position where nobody can cover him. He's covered against safeties,
where did you get those
against
stats
linebackers, from? PFF.
Okay, you should cite.
You thought I made them up? Like,
no. I know. I'm just saying. Like you should cite. You should
Witty,
cite them.
what are you, the AP style guide?
Yeah, that was weird.
I'm just saying.
I'm dropping facts, and you're asking me to cite my shit. Like, what's wrong with you?
I was impressed with it.
Like,
I was impressed, honestly.
Like you weren't crunching tape and had all those numbers yourself.
He was crunching tape.
Why don't we always undercut each other?
So did you have any of that or no?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
have any,
just asking.
I was listening to Mina's podcast, and the Vikings totally exploited the zone defense of the Packers.
Where'd you get that?
And they kept
He said it though. He said it.
And they kept asking like the coaching staff, like, why didn't you run man on Justin Jefferson? And they're like, we're a zone defense. What, one guy running man? I'm gonna have a bunch of people that have been practicing zone all off season long to just be like, okay, you're running man
an amoeba
right
defense
now.
On Justin Jefferson.
Adam Thielen is still very good, and it's almost as if over the last couple of years he's gotten underrated just because of how great Justin Jefferson
and Dalvin Cook is great as well. Whitty, you mentioned my opinion, and over the years, many of my opinions change and are different. My opinion on there not being a lot of coaching differences from many years ago had to do with all the cowardice on fourth down, all the copycatting, all of the safe playing that was all these guys all working 20 hours a day so that they would do the same thing. I have since altered that opinion in a way that can't be disputed. You see the differences in offense with all of these scheming young people, but they finally made the changes instead of always hiring Vic Fangio as the new coach who's recycled, who's going to do all the same things. There's clearly been an evolution in that sport, like the baseball shift, where they've all figured out finally the same thing at the same time, while Jon Gruden, it wasn't that long ago, was getting $100 million for 10 years and saying that all your analytics are bullshit. He goes with his gut. He doesn't need anybody's help on how he coaches football. There's been a seismic tectonic shift in young people and Wall Street people taking advantage of the inefficiencies in that sport in a way that I can't refute. There is a difference now between coaches, and here's the fuck of it for me.
What?
I can't tell the difference between the very best of them. I'm not sophisticated enough in my viewing to know that somebody is doing something technically, like Dan Orlovsky was breaking down film, and he's showing you how on the Waddle touchdown, 4th and 7, changed that entire game, gets McDaniel to celebrate the week as victor, conquer, and brave. because Tua looked off a linebacker who was the only one who can make the play on what would have been Tua throwing into triple coverage. It's a subtlety I don't notice when I'm watching the game, and it's a level of sophistication I don't have.
Orlovsky is so damn good at this, and I think some network is going to end up making him the number one. It probably taps
He
in.
just resigned. He was just a free agent, and there was competition for him, and he just resigned at ESPN.
I really love watching a game that way, where someone is teaching me stuff. And we saw the numbers for the Monday Night Football game, biggest Monday Night Football game since 2009. I can understand where some people. I was talking to someone that knows their shit when it comes to coverages, and they were telling me how Troy makes a game feel big, but he actually gets lost on coverages a lot, and he is trapped in the 1990s a little bit.
That was so interesting to me, Mike, where I wondered how old Romo's going to have to be before his information ages out. And in the way Orlovsky broke up that Tua tape, he was still calling out stuff from his level of expertise. And I'm wondering as I'm watching, well, how soon will it be 10 years down the line before his information is outdated because they've evolved beyond
it? It's why I think that Jon Gruden eventually will get back into that game. I don't think the well is totally poisoned. He'll do like the year doing like college football for radio, and then he'll quickly get another opportunity because unlike some of the other voices, this happened to Matt Millen too, where of his time he was considered to be the next John Madden, and he gets back in the game and you're like, oh, his perspective hasn't really changed as the football has changed. Jon Gruden would be in the film room, and he kept up. Obviously, because he got back into head coaching and acquitted himself nicely, he knew the game's latest trends. And I think that's an interesting way to watch a game, and that's the perfect person. Someone that will give you what Orlovsky gives you, but someone that can play alongside and be a good host and be someone that's captivating and speak to the big moments.
You guys think Gruden's going to make his way back?
There's all that racism stuff.
Yeah, I think he's going to make his way back. I think this thing will settle. Dust will settle. He'll do the year of eating shit on a college football radio broadcast, and then sure enough, he'll get an opportunity to come back.
Hide him the way they do Urban Meyer in the press release, where they just threw him in the 7th paragraph and then started the season.
I think
hoping?
like 5 years from now, Jon Gruden's
in his
gonna get
70s.
a shot.
Isn't he?
Is he that old?
Hold on,
isn't he?
Isn't he? Welcome to Cinephobe. Isn't he suing the NFL?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't. You don't get back, bro. That's.
He'll get back on college broadcast.
Yeah,
then.
college, sure. I could see him.
Yeah.
Well, that's a special case, right? That was Mike Tomlin saying, "I'm going to make it a point to hire this guy because what happened to him is messed up."
Do you think Brian Flores?
Brian Flores was a victim, right?
I mean, very clearly, if you watch the Broncos game, if I'm his if I'm his attorneys, I'm just showing the end of Monday Night Football and being like, "Look what happened in Denver."
But for Gruden's not a victim. Gruden was found to do something that's kind of shitty.
Yep.
And his response was, "I'm going to sue the league for."
Yeah, no, this is a dangerous hot take that 5 years from now, I think, because keep in mind, he's about 10 years removed from that scandal, right?
Well, not really, because that's
no, it just got
current.
opened up, but
Yes.
like the actual act happened a while ago. So I think he's going to have an opportunity to work his way back.
Because people don't think about it. Oh, that happened a long time ago. People think about it as it just happened. No, I see him coaching in college. I see him definitely doing college broadcasts. I don't see him ever having anything to do with the NFL again.
I saw some clip of him talking to a bunch of people a few weeks ago, and the first 20 seconds, he said everything you think he'd say. He's just like, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
I got to look at myself. I got to be better. Shameful. But all of you have done something. I guarantee you, it was like 25 seconds of like, oh, he's saying everything he needs to say, and he's just like, but we've all done stuff.
All of you in the NFL. This was a commander's investigation, man. Liberty will give him a shot. He might come back into coaching.
He might get what's the Nebraska might give him a shot.
No,
he's just got to do the 1 year prove it.
Nebraska's like, oh wait, we don't know, man. Come on, these colleges have the worst.
I think they want to hire Matt Campbell, I think they want to hire Matt Campbell. I would be surprised if they hired someone.
Don't listen to Amin. Don't listen to Amin. You're the only one in the world who's reporting Jon Gruden to Nebraska.
I'm not reporting
Hey man, you'll coach.
That's not the point
Jon Gruden will coach at like Mount Union.
I don't think he's.
He will work his way back.
I think the first job he gets back is going to be at FBS.
I want
1 year, and then we're good.
I don't want to do this with you guys. I really don't. I don't
HBCU.
want to guess
Just
where
file
Jon
this away.
Gruden is going to end up
5 years from now.
I want to do what Chris Cody was doing.
He's going to
which
Florida
is
A&M.
Coach Prime is going to add him to the staff.
HBCU, there you go.
Saban should add Gruden.
Gramblin's going to do what they try to do with Art Browse.
Saban can do it. Saban can absolutely get Jon Gruden to coach up the offensive line for 1 year.
I just want to explore what it is that Chris Cody is saying here, because Jon Gruden vanished. You go from all the power in football, you feel bulletproof, you've jumped from what was the best job in sports media at ESPN, highest paid ESPN employee, working not very much, to going to the Raiders and reinventing yourself. And then, after initially making the denials that made it seem like Jon Gruden thought he was going to keep his job, further leaks coming out, and now he's buried, gone, and in shame, loses his advertising, loses his dignity, spends months of silence, stewing in the shame, finally gets in front of people to speak for the first time. His words are going to be heard for the first time. And he starts by doing all the correct PR training things of, I'm so bad.
I'm so bad, man. I screwed up. Mea culpa, man. Yeah.
Well, let me see all your emails.
That's right.
Let's see your glass houses,
I know
man.
you're racist too.
Yeah.
Like, it's the stuff he's been saying in his kitchen to his friends.
Bunch of you throwing stones, man. Throwing stones from glass houses, man.
You've got his old friends are coming, and you know.
What do you want from me, man? It was the 90s.
He's 6 months.
I think it was like 4 years ago.
It was like 2015.
It was the 90s, man. I was working at a Hooters. Come on, times were different.
I have a question. If he stayed at ESPN and never got back into football, do we think that he would be making $18 or $25 million now?
Well, does the scandal still come out? Because as Mike pointed out, those emails were when he was an ESPN employee.
Well, he loses all of those jobs when those emails come out, but maybe those emails don't come out. But what he is saying is, if he had not been tempted, think about having the best job in sports media as, you know, Tom Brady and everyone else tries to get into the money rush that is around brand management and broadcasting. What he's saying is, if Gruden had just left well enough alone, he'd still be on Monday nights right now at the, 20 million people watching, and nobody would know any of this stuff about him.
If Jon Gruden just stayed at ESPN, I'm telling you, the video game would be called Gruden Football 2022. Like, he was so great at that job because he taught you something, but also he was a character. He was becoming a parody of himself. The way that John Madden, in a very good way, was by the end. He was excellent at that job, which is why 5 years from now, you can be hearing him again on the Maction Game of the Week.
I wish you would stop doubling down on this 70 different ways.
He's got to be on the Eastern Michigan Toledo game on a Tuesday.
On this, we understand that you believe that Gruden is going to work again. Evidently, when you get into a position of management, you'd hire him. It would appear as a value.
No, I can't do that.
Hire.
I can't do that. But
I want to get back to what you were saying about Aikman.
Fox will.
Can you already hear it in Aikman's broadcast? You're telling me that you can hear that he's a little behind on whatever it is the evolutions in the game are. Because again, Troy Aikman, I say this all the time, he threw 20 touchdown passes in a season once. The Hall of Famer Troy Aikman, one time.
No, I can't. Here's what I know about coverages. If a man goes in motion and that DB follows him, they're in man. I'm not watching the All-22 live. There's very little that I can tell from NFL coverages in just a game broadcast. That's why people rewatch the games and are able to tell you, because they have all these different angles. So I don't really catch what I'm missing with Troy Aikman. I just have an MC that I kind of enjoy that makes the games feel big.
His telestrator, though, was broken, which begs the question, did they take all their telestrator money and give it to Aikman and Buck?
Whittingham mentioned something here by way of undercutting Tony that was unfair, and he didn't even answer you the way that he should have. He should have given the stats the credit to the people who gave them to him. He aired there, but Tony does break down film.
Dan, I got them from multiple places, though. It's not just one place. I read about certain things, and one I go, okay, ESPN, PFF, people on Twitter, like 17 people. No.
I got you, Papo.
Thank you.
He reads up on this shit,
Not just
man.
that.
Stop trying to undercut my boy.
Thank you.
He studies.
He watches film as well because he is looking for all the different angles and just
He watches people watch
Ooh,
film.
the all 22. You have the all 22. Oh, I love it.
Trying to get it, yeah.
Chris
He's
Cody
got the all 44.
Chris Cody is scared though
22 guys.
because his Miami Dolphins want to know when they go into Baltimore, terrible things happen to the Miami Dolphins.
Things. Now, this I should say it also last year in Miami, the Dolphins upset the Ravens, so they have that going for them, recency. But the last 4 times the Dolphins have traveled to Baltimore, they've lost by a combined 96 points, I believe.
95, 134 to 39.
That is. Whew.
That's
and
not
like
good.
it's one of those things where it really doesn't mean anything because it's different teams. Like I'm sure a couple of those were like 7 or 8 years ago or something, but it's just doesn't feel good.
But
going
as Tony breaks down film and is looking for football information everywhere, what Chris Cody is doing, he's breaking down film too.
I stole that as well from somebody. I don't know who it was.
That stat.
But that's one of those ones, I'm with Tony on this. Like, that stat, I could have so easily just looked up the last, like, I don't need, like, I
But
feel
you
like
didn't.
that's one of those ones. Last 4 times,
I'm with you.
adding up the scores, like, that's.
Hang on a tick, if I do say so myself. We never ask Mike Schur to credit his stats of the day.
Wow.
He
Yeah,
doesn't.
witty.
He
does it
credits them
himself.
himself.
Nah, he
No, he
doesn't.
doesn't.
Not
Give
always.
credit to
I
Jim
don't know.
Reynolds.
I don't know about that.
Not every time.
Every time.
Look at
Not
it.
every.
Check the
All
tape.
right,
Thank
this is
you,
going to be a
guys.
good test today. When he comes on,
Yeah.
we're going to, like, just see if he does it.
Nobody say anything.
No one say anything.
The kind of tape that Tony is breaking down is different than the kind of film Chris Cody is breaking down. Chris Cody just wanted to show everybody that Bengals fan.
Right. That Bengals fan. Did you guys see this? This lady, this poor woman with a neck brace. This poor woman with a neck brace. You've had a bad
The
week.
woman.
What?
Yeah, the one sitting in front.
You have
Yeah,
a bad
absolutely.
week. You're like, I'm going to a football game in a neck brace. Like, there's probably how many neck braces do you think were in that entire stadium?
I have a
Two that aren't playing in the game.
No, that aren't playing.
I have a take. At that point, just stay home. The game isn't that
We're
important.
ripping the neck brace lady.
Yes,
But
I'm
in
with you, Mike.
Cincinnati,
I'm with
there's
Chris
like,
Cody.
There's like a maximum of 11 home games or 10 home games a year.
But Chris,
and you
no,
like don't go to one of them.
Let's
There's
just
a
think
maximum
for a
of
second.
13 things to do.
Let's
you
just-
guys haven't gotten to what the video is yet.
I know. There's a lady behind this lady in the neck brace. Just. This. I mean, we've all been. I haven't been there actually. This is just throwing up.
Chundus Everdeen.
Just sitting there, not even covering it. Just.
Nope.
Blah, just forward, and it. Luckily, actually, I don't think any of it actually got on the, which is a crazy feat.
She was in the splash zone.
She was,
Yeah.
but
It
I
just looked like a White Claw.
But I
It
do
looked
think
like a
the-
White Claw projectile.
I do think that the funny story here is the bad week that this neck brace lady's having. Well, that was a struggle right there. But think about it. She has a neck.
Not as
She
bad as
probably got
yours.
into what, like a
fender bender.
a little fender bender.
Got a little
Bad
rear-
week. She was late for
rear-ended,
work.
yeah.
She's like, you know what? My week's gonna get better. I'm going to the
Going to
Bengals
the
game.
game,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna miss this Bengals game.
No.
I know my neck hurts, but I'm still gonna go.
Then Burrow throws 4 interceptions.
Burrow throws 4 interceptions, and this lady behind you starts just yakking right on you.
Can you imagine when she got home? So, honey, how was the game?
Yeah, you can't even check. You like feel like a mist. You're like, is someone spraying one of those mist fans behind me? No,
No,
someone's yakking.
no. Dog the Bounty Hunter just had too many.
Oh man,
I know. I think earlier this week you guys were talking about people who kick the seat in front of them on airplanes.
kids. Yeah, kids.
Yeah. So when I was probably like 3 years old, I was at a Notre Dame football game with my parents, and I guess I was doing that to the person in front of us, not their seat because it was bleacher seats, but I was kicking the person.
You're kicking
in
the
back.
actual
It's
person.
much
My
worse than
my
the seat.
parents, I guess, didn't. My parents didn't notice until a few days later. My mom was at the grocery store back in our hometown, and a woman came up to her and was like, "Were you at the Notre Dame game last weekend?" And my mom was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Your daughter kicked my back the entire time," and
I
my
don't think-
mom was mortified.
Raise your hand if you thought Jess was going to say until a few days later your mom was on Twitter and someone posted, "This kid behind me keeps kicking me in the back." Get it? Because Jess is so young.
Yeah, thank you
I
for
liked
the
it.
get it. We need that. Chris
So
Cody,
true.
I want to keep going down this path of this woman is sitting there and you don't know how sick she is. You can't tell, but she seems a bit sedentary. She's not moving a whole lot, and nor is she bending over to vomit.
Right.
She is just sort of throwing up forward, but not moving her body very
Right.
much.
Like
and
a fountain.
The first two, she seems to kind of make a slight effort to get it between her legs. The third one, you're totally right. She gives up on that movement and she just does it right onto her belly.
But
she's just like.
There are two things I want to address here. One is I often think when people are at the nightclub on crutches.
Yeah.
You
No.
You're my brother.
You could have.
No.
You're my brother.
No. I broke my foot in college and I still went out to the bars.
You were in
Why?
college.
No, also why?
Why? Why not?
Because you're not mobile. That's why.
So people that aren't mobile can't go out and enjoy themselves?
Here we go. Be careful. Be careful.
I was that.
Be careful.
I was that dude during
places.
I was that dude during the 2006 World Cup. I smashed my foot to pieces, and I was at all the bars.
How?
I was during the Mavs Heat series. I thought I could dunk. I did throw down, but my foot exploded.
Caring, homerism, all of them acted as pain
Don't ever try to
medication.
dunk in Vans.
Jesus.
Is there any acceptable scenario out drinking where it's okay to do the just the spit up throw up?
No.
I'm not. But like where you let me
Football.
rephrase. I'm saying a scenario where you could be like, all right, like at least he just took 3 shots back. Like, you know what I mean? Where someone does something. Like there are some scenarios where it's like,
be a civilized adult human being.
oh, you never spit up a shot before. You never taken a shot and then just you have to walk outside and then you're right back to the
little
party.
puke and rally.
We've all been there.
You've never puked in rally?
Chris, you've got. This is how you got to do it, man. We got to be on the move. We got to be on the move, and then second of all, no one can notice. So I've done this where we're on the move, we're walking to the next bar, and then like really quick, like I sneeze. There's a bush. Oh, and then keep it moving.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, but if you're like that woman, it's a wrap.
Well, that because
Do a
you're
little
doing
puke.
it. Yeah, like see, I'm gonna be honest right now. Last time I did it, drinking around the world, Epcot.
Wow.
I mean,
Which country did you puke
I
in,
think
Chris?
like near Morocco.
Oh yeah.
You know that bar? Like there's one liquor bar. It's like it's not really even. It doesn't feel like a country. It's just like, hey, you can do shots. They should have a sign that's just like, hey, you can do shots here. And we went there. Patron. You know, sometimes you just get these big ass tequila shots. It's like you're wasting tequila. I don't need like a half of one of these glasses. And it's just like I asked for it chilled, wasn't chilled. Dude, I walked right out of that bar, went over to one of those railings with like where like the big pond is. Oh.
But hold on, was noticeable or did
one of my friends saw me like they saw by the way I was walking out the bar. They're like he's going somewhere right now.
You gotta be smooth. If you get noticed, then you're out.
Yeah, and they notice. Did someone
my
undercover
friends still talk about it?
Did someone undercover notice?
Not undercover. Oh no, because you can get kicked out that way.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
went one time with my brother-in-law, and in England, somebody in a Hawaiian shirt escorted him out. They have a bunch of plans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like a Hawaiian shirt and like a goofy hat.
Wow.
Yeah.
The
Come
guy
with me.
With sunglasses on and a fake
They
mustache.
have a bunch of fake tourists.
Come on, Dan. You like to get down. Come on, you've thrown up before.
I have thrown up. What I was objecting to is your idea that you would throw up just a little bit plopped out between your feet because you can't be a civilized
Well, it wasn't Bengals
human
lady. I'm with
being.
you. Right. That's absurd because she got to the point where it's like she wasn't like she seemed like she was almost maybe passed out.
I've
Like
gotten to the point. You tell me if I'm wrong about this, okay? Because these Sundays at football games are so disgusting with drunk people and fighting and Bengals lady throwing up on you that I don't want to be at the game. I don't want to be at a swampy game watching one game with commercials for 11 minutes of total action as opposed to the snorting of cocaine that I could do watching all the games and not getting thrown up on my neck in a swampy environment.
That's why attendance is down. I think a lot of people agree with you.
It's gross. It's hot. It's a day spent around drunk people. I once at a Dolphins game couldn't get on the escalator because someone had puked in front of it and was lying down in front of it.
Sorry about that.
Was it being churned by the escalator like the curve?
No, it was just before,
Who
thankfully.
built the escalator?
Don't tell me how to use a microphone.
Podcast rookie.
Podcast in the top 5. When are you going to try to distract me with that foolishness?
Pookie.
Do not try to distract me with that foolishness. Who killed Stugotz? Which one of you did it? And I got a list of suspects. I'm leaning towards Witty because he's weird. Obviously, no, he's a murderer. But Stugotz is obviously dead. And do not try to tell me that he was on the show a couple days ago. That was a deep fake. That guy don't even look like Stugotz. That fat face fella, that's not the real Stugotz. You guys got a fake Stugotz. You murdered him. We're going to get to the bottom of it. You're all suspects except for Roy and Amin and Juju. The rest of you.
All right. Let's do it then. Where is Stugotz? I expected him today again. He is not here. He hasn't been here.
Play dumb, Dan. You killed him and hit his body. And I want to know where it's at. Whitty, I'm starting with you because we know. Whitty, where were you on the night of September 1st? I think that's when I've decided that maybe that this all happened. I need your alibi right now.
I was getting
that, Mike. You're next.
I got a text from Stugotz going, buddy, I'm going to be dropping off my daughters at college, and I'm going to miss maybe a day, 2 perhaps, and 2 became 4 very quickly.
Oh, now we have a motive. The man promised you he would be here, and then he didn't show up.
Who else do you want to accuse? Who else? Who around the room do you want to accuse here?
I was also at Mr. Solo Dolo.
I can actually corroborate his story.
Wow, you've got a witness.
Ooh, so accomplice now. Mike just volunteered to be an accomplice. I see Jess posting pictures from New York City. You weren't actually there. You did a fake post. You did a distraction post with your Instagram,
How
Jess.
dare you, Dominique? I spent 4 days in the lovely city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, before the lovely city of New York. I was nowhere near Stugotz.
Also, I'm not here for the allegations that it wasn't actually Stugotz. Yes, Stugotz may be dead, but that was certainly his waterlogged corpse that we saw asking Ryan Fitzpatrick a question.
What about Tony? Tony, all this MMA stuff. I could see Tony testing out his moves.
Dominique, I'm on the will though. I'm on the will. Stugotz's will. So, I mean,
that's even more of a motive.
No, you don't.
You're playing both sides. You walked right into it.
You're a detective, Tony. What are you doing?
No. I'm just telling you guys. I'm being upfront. Hey, I'm on the will, but
also,
that doesn't mean I'm.
Stugotz tells everybody they're on his will.
That's true, and no one's on the will.
I've come to realize is everybody in that mother bleeping room has a motive, and you're all guilty except for Amin, Juju, and Roy. Of course. The rest of you criminals. Chris, absolutely, Chris, because Chris, I have to be honest.
What up?
Been getting a lot better at being entertaining and awesome, and I think I'm really impressed with you, Chris. You've really taken this new opportunity and done some great things. And I can tell you're a little jealous because you look over at Stu and you're
I see. Yeah, I could replace him. I could be the next Stu.
I could be fat. I could do that. I could say nicknames. I could do that. And so you try to get him out the way. And now, Amin, watch out. You're sitting in the chair. Be careful tonight. Chris might come and try to come and get you because he wants that seat.
Wait, wouldn't Amin have the biggest motive of them all?
No, Amin's brown.
What? He stands to gain the most.
Weird.
I don't know.
Well,
this back row is
in my
crowded.
justice system, it works a little different. We have a bizarro justice system over here. You're brown, you're good with me. I mean,
Unlike
good work, buddy.
the actual justice system.
Yeah, you got that right, Jess. And don't try to cozy up to me by pointing out.
I'm not cozying up to anyone. I'm known for my
cozy
zingers and
up.
one-liners, Dominique, please.
Don't cozy. You're talented too. I like that. French and all that. You might be also trying to come for Chris Whittingham. Not that talented. Overrated. He talks a lot. He explains things. Who can't explain things? And he uses big words, misuses them on occasion. I mean,
not very
overrated.
Often. Not very often.
Got a great fade though. Strong fade. Yes, I am you are cool with me because you obviously go to a barbershop that black people also go to because that fade is.
Why wouldn't I have the largest of the motives?
Dan, I was saving you for last. Mostly because I didn't know what I was going to say about you and I was buying time to figure it out. But, Dan, you're too nice. Okay, I don't got you killing anybody.
Oh, really?
I feel like what you would rather do is Stu to be in pain and then Stu kill you. Like you might, that's what happened. You killed Stu by mistake, is you were trying to get Stu to kill you so you could be the martyr that you are dying to be, so that we could all come and eulogize Dan for how great he is. Oh, Dan made all these opportunities for us. He sacrificed him. You just want us to celebrate you, Dan, and I'm not here to do it. And you just did a look at me. Play the sound, Louie. What about me? What's my reason for killing him?
Domonique, are you doing this hit in front of a corkboard with suspects?
A corkboard? Is that does your corkboard have suspects?
Install my suspects. Oh, right, listen right here. We got 3 innocents right here.
There you go.
You know who you are. And then the rest of you. You guys weren't supposed to see my corkboard.
You probably could have used more of the corkboard next time, maybe.
Look here, man. Space there, man.
Not exactly exploring all the space there.
Well, I had to take down some pictures. It was a lot. I didn't want people to get into it, but I like my things to be sleek, Chris.
Needs more string also.
Yeah, a little too much. I don't like string. I like lines. Miami is my favorite city.
What?
How about Domonique?
I mean, I heard you on the other show where you were trying to say that it was coffee. I know cocaine when I hear cocaine. Don't you want me? You like Miami too. I heard you were out of control. I couldn't keep up with you.
I wasn't supposed to have that much coffee. I had a cup and it was supposed to be like a little
I got
sip.
it. Coffee. That's what we call it down there now. A little bit of that coffee.
It's Colombian mejor.
There are a number of things that we want to talk with our good friend Domonique Foxworth about. I want to get to his thoughts on Tua, but can you tell me what you made of the entire Sarver thing? We've been talking the last couple of days about how you can't just take teams away from owners who have charters that don't allow you to take the teams away. And I don't know, he could have handled the press conference better, but I don't know that Adam Silver was within his rights to give the people, the angry mob, the bloodlust that they wanted.
First of all, Dan, I was out of material, so thanks for getting me off of that murder thing. You are really good at hosting because I ran out of material like 5 minutes ago.
Well, the better way to do it is to not mention it and just do it the way that I did.
I like his way.
Nah. I mean, it's a teaching experience. We're a teaching hospital, Dan. You got a bunch of future hosts over there. They got to see what's happening, man.
Post.
So... the Sarver, man is so efficient. He's like a corner 3-point shooter.
They're small windows. It's a great trick, and Stugotz has stolen it. Have you noticed this? He's using it more than you are, Chris. He sees someone else has a device, and he's fighting you off, making sure that you can't have his seat.
Which is why you murdered him. All right, so the Sarver thing is, I don't know. I mean, it's the big... There's so many big things to talk about here. So then there's racism and sexism. That's America. I feel like we talk about that all the time. The thing about this that is a little bit more interesting for me, from my union background in particular, is like the hypocrisy of the governors and owners and how they have their employee, which is Adam Silver in this case, and Roger Goodell in the many cases that happen in NFL. The employee is responsible for giving out the punishment, which is obviously clear impropriety right there. And so that's the start of it. And then you get to the fact that the players in the league, like, we look to them, like LeBron has put out a statement, but we all turn to them like, why don't you fix this? And it just is frustrating and disappointing. It's not going to change. You guys covered it yesterday, and I think you said a lot of the same things that I thought, like the idea that if there was video or if there was some audio, we'd react to this differently. It's a sad state of affairs. And the idea that punishment, in my view, the point of punishment is to deter people from doing it, to kind of protect the people who were experience some sort of drawbacks from it, and also maybe to rehabilitate. But like, 1 year is not, for decades of misbehavior, is not enough to deter anybody else. No one is being protected because he's coming back to do it again. And it doesn't feel to me like anyone is being rewarded, not rewarded, but being compensated, not even necessarily monetarily. Sometimes the retribution is just seeing someone serve a punishment that you feel like they deserve, and that doesn't seem fair. So it feels like the punishment misses the mark on any way you would measure punishment. I'm not sure how to measure punishment, but that's how I would measure it, and that's why I feel like they missed.
On the Tua thing, just general Tua stuff, what do you make of everything swirling around him? I always... the last couple of years, what I've believed is it's so hard to make an evaluation that nobody really can because of how bad the offensive line play was. And so because he's such a mystery, that's why the opinions are all so over the place, because you don't normally go quite this far into a career and still have this much mystery.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair, but the signs that he showed in last week's game, and I know that not many people agree with me on that, but the signs that he showed in last week's game are encouraging to me. He's never going to be. I get this feeling or this perception that the league has changed. There was a time when you wanted a franchise quarterback, and that was all you wanted. And then these new quarterbacks came in that are just special, like Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Herbert, that they're like once in a lifetime players, but we got them all in this lifetime, and it feels like they're going to keep coming. And it feels to me like the paradigm changed around in front of all of us. It's like these old Kodak cameras, and then these iPhones came in the league. And now that's how I see Tua feels a little bit like that. Like the best version of Tua is a high-end game manager, which you can win a Super Bowl with. But now we've all got a little taste of what it's like to have one of these other guys. We see it. And so it makes it really hard for guys like Tua to come up and have success because he's like Jimmy Garoppolo plus is the best version of him, which is never going to be Justin Herbert. And that sucks, but it's the best you have. And if you have a good team around, a good coach, good players, you can be competitive for a long time with a guy like that.
What is it? Is it because Herbert and Mahomes, they're just so goddamn fun to watch? But if you look at the Super Bowl winners, there's Nick Foles, there's Joe Flacco, there's Jimmy Garoppolo, a throwaway. You can win this way. And the idea that you have to totally...
You'd prefer to win the other, though. It's more exciting to have one of those
Isn't it also more
quarterbacks.
sustainable? It's more sustainable, right? Because you can have sort of that lightning in the bottle one-off, Super Bowl win with Joe Flacco, but like that wasn't going to last.
I think you need institutional stability is what it comes down to. That's the most sustainable thing that you can have. A great quarterback is fine, but we've seen many great quarterbacks in organizations that aren't stable not have sustained success. So that's what it comes down to. I'd rather have that over anything else. Next, you want to have one of these great quarterbacks. Your point about the guys who aren't that good, but Joe Flacco transcended in that Super Bowl run. So it's hard to point to that as an example because he was that guy for at least that period. What's up, Mike?
Well, what ends up happening, though, is you end up having to pay the custodian of the offense that has won you a Super Bowl because they have a Super Bowl to their name, and you end up blowing your salary cap structure for someone that isn't Josh Allen, that isn't Patrick Mahomes. How would you look at building a team? Would you go the 49ers method of, well, we got this custodian of the offense, let's try to replace him with rookie deals? We're seeing a lot more in the NFL. Or would you just be like, I have a shot every year with the Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to keep trying in the draft to find that person. I'm going to pay Lamar Jackson. I don't care what it does to my salary cap because I know I have more lottery tickets that way.
Yeah, you got a player that is excellent at that position. Obviously, you pay him. The real question is if you have a lower level guy, should you pay him? And I still think that you do because playing the lottery every year is not a plan. Like, if the guy is good enough, then you build around him and you find the talent that you need to support him and have success. The point you made that plenty of teams have won the Super Bowl without these kind of transcendent superstar mutant quarterbacks, and plenty of quarterbacks like that haven't won. So I think the strategy, it frustrates me some, and again, this is my union background bleeding in, is that we criticize the big-time quarterbacks for getting the big-time contracts and say that kind of gutted the organization, when I don't think that's fair. The fact of the matter is, Dan makes this point all the time. You have to win and find value somewhere. Finding value at quarterback, yeah, that's great. But once you no longer have value at quarterback, then it's time for the GM to do his damn job. You have to find value elsewhere. Like, that's the point. If you think about the Super Bowls or the Super Bowl that the Broncos won, like, that was Von Miller, right? Von Miller was a Hall of Fame value player on a rookie contract. Like, that's what it boils down to. They were overpaying for what Peyton Manning was giving them. But the fact of the matter is, other people got things to do, and we don't see the guys who wear suits and ties very often. So instead, we criticize the guys who are playing. We're like, hey, he took up all his salary cap, and he is not making up for the fact that they can't afford all these players. Well, draft better. Find players, do your job, and continue to find value. Because right now, the guy's been playing under value for so long. Now it's time to pay him. And to me, that feels like stupid for all of us, like common people, to be on the side of the organization and not celebrate someone who has earned, frankly, more money than he's receiving. And we're like, hey, you're being selfish. No, he's not. He's doing what he's supposed to do.
Why do you think that is, Dominique? Why do we focus on finding value at quarterback as opposed to other positions?
Because we're lazy and it's easy, and that's what people want to talk about. So, like, when we're organizing shows and stuff that, it's like, let's go to the names that we care about, saying, hey, they better find a left tackle in the draft that they can pay cheap is not as much fun.
But besides us as the lazy media, even when you look at teams, if you look at like the last, I want to say something like 6 or 8 Super Bowl teams, they found value at quarterback. Even guys like Brady who are getting paid, but it's not as much as he could be getting paid. You know, Mahomes was on a team friendly deal. You know, his rookie scale deal. You go down the list, it's always a guy that's not making the absolute maximum amount of money he could be making. So why is it from an NFL team construction standpoint, that's where they seek to find value?
Yeah, I think it's the best place. Like, it's the most important position. And if you can get the most important position at value, then that's more value. Like, it's more value than you can get anywhere else. So I think that's why we see it happen more often there. But none of these teams are bad, you know? Like, these are normally, like, Mahomes came into a great situation. Russell Wilson, great situation. Dak Prescott, even though they didn't win a Super Bowl, he came into a great situation. Like, that's also a point that frustrates me, is we talk about quarterbacks like they're bust all the time, and I feel like the organizations fail them more than the quarterbacks do. If you look at all the great quarterbacks in the league right now, just about all of them, with the exception of Joe Burrow maybe, and his situation or his play last week wasn't good, just about all of them came into great situations, which in my view gives them the time to develop into great quarterbacks. Whereas the guys who go into bad situations and they fail, we're like, man, that guy was trash. When actuality, like, Tom Brady's situation was outstanding. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert. Like, all these guys came into the league in organizations that were prepared to help them succeed, which gave them time to turn into the quarterbacks. Well, I guess not Patrick Mahomes. He was God when he stepped on the field. But still, that team was pretty damn good when he walked into it.
He mentioned accurately his very popular Top 5 New Sports podcast, which he had a team of focus groups and researching for months to come up with the name. The Domonique Foxworth Show is how he's breaking into the market. You mentioned your union leadership. You were the head of the Players Union. We were talking with Amin and Samson before about what Chris Paul's responsibility is as a player for the Suns, as a black man, and as a high-ranking member of the union.
He's a former president of the union.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the name I suggested was Zero Fox Given, and they rejected that. So
that's so much better.
But here's why: because he's Fox and he's giving himself every week. So it's not zero; it's all the Fox given.
You're giving a single Fox.
Yes.
It was going to be great, too, because you remember when Steph Curry was, like, making fun of me for, like, the zero over the I? Like, that was going to be my promo photo. It was just going to be all awesome. And they were like, nah, I don't know. Sponsors may not like that. And I was like, whatever.
Did you consider what did the Fox say?
All right, moving on. So
no, that's a good one. What the Fox says? Oh,
I'm with Chris Cody on this one.
And that's how I know it's terrible. You also get signs that talk about pumpkin season. Get out of here. No style.
Season. Don't you love a little PSL in the fall, Dominique?
I mean, I don't care. I don't know what PSL is, but I don't want a sign.
You don't know what you're missing.
Latte is like it's.
Look at Dan flexing.
No, I mean, yes, my calorie muscle, my fattening, tasty calorie muscle is what I'm flexing. The one underneath the flab.
I'm sorry, Dan. I could enjoy a pumpkin spice latte, but where I draw the line, Jess, is that
calling it PSL.
I believe you A and B, like getting a sign in your house. I don't know. Generally,
it was a pillow. It was a decorative pillow. But we're in agreement. Yeah. We love pumpkin spice. Moving on.
All right, I'm sorry. What were we talking about?
Well, you were talking about Chris Paul's place in the union, but then we got derailed by what does the Fox say, which made me go tell Mike to make sure and get our montage song of what the Fox says that we will play for you in a moment. But give me what it is that Chris Paul's supposed to do. Where's his allegiance supposed to be? As a member of the Suns, as a black man, and as somebody who, ran the Players Union.
He don't got no responsibility. Like, this frustrates me to no end. Like, why when white people do stupid shit, everyone's like, hey, black guy, fix it. Like, no, it's not Chris Paul's responsibility. If he decides that he wants to step into this and and change things. He's no longer the president. If he decides that he wants to get in the fray like LeBron James in his tweet this morning, then fine, go for it. But the idea that there is some expectation that there's some greater responsibility on him because he's playing for another owner who's doing racist things. Like, I don't know. Are we suggesting that it's Chris Paul's fault? I just don't find that.
No, I'm just asking you the position that he's in. What is he supposed to do when Sarver is getting what the marketplace feels like is a light sentence, and the only thing that will make it harsher is blowback. The only thing that will make this not go away in a day is LeBron and Chris Paul keeping it in the news stream with their anger. I'm just asking you about the position he's in.
I got you. I'm sorry. It's a little bit more frustration because I am a dedicated listener to this show, and I often listen to you guys, David Sampson and many other people, talk about union business in a way that they don't. Like, no disrespect, David Sampson obviously is very smart, but he's also very biased. And the same is true. Well, I guess Mike Schur is not biased, but like he's very smart, but like it just has an incomplete understanding of the position of unions in this league. So as for this, or across leagues, as for the Sarver thing, I don't think that they have any responsibility. That's where I draw the line. It's the idea that they have some obligation or responsibility to do more than anyone else. You're right. The public pressure is what's going to change this. We're the public. Like, if we care, then we need to have the pressure. It feels very like lazy of all of us, and not you guys specifically, but anyone to be like, LeBron better say something. Chris Paul better fix it. Like, none of those players, is it any of those players' responsibility? But if there's anybody, go find a white guy. Tell him to go fix it. Like, it just feels weird to me that we're always like, hey, black guy did something racist.
But we did ask the white guy to fix it, and Silver said he couldn't. Silver said, I don't have the power. It's a white guy ruling on racism on behalf of white guys and protection of white guys.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not even critical of Silver because he has a job to do, and part of that job is to appease the people who decide whether he keeps the job or not. The reason why he was able to push Sterling out is because we were all up in arms. Like, that's what it came down to. And if we're not going to be up in arms now, it's hard for me to, like, look at Chris Paul or LeBron James and say, you're not doing enough.
I completely agree with you. I think the only flip side I'd offer is that a lot of times public and the fans will look to LeBron James to kind of stake out a position and then follow his lead. Like, he's looked up to as someone who, if he has a problem with it, then I do too. And some fans will wait to see what the player response is before forming their own opinion. And I'm not saying that is their responsibility to do. I think that is just a byproduct of him having such a powerful voice in that league.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think that matters, and I think it does happen. But where I draw the line is using words like expectation or obligation or responsibility for those guys to do that. Like, if people do feel that way and they're upset because LeBron's not taking on enough responsibility, please do not waste your energy being mad at LeBron or Chris Paul.
Totally.
For not fixing it. Like, go ahead and aim that at Robert Sarver if you care that damn much. It just feels like an opportunity to turn the focus away from the wrongdoers and blame, I mean, not the victims in this case, but other people who really have nothing to do with it.
The labor class, which is something that, like, I think this show, we have a very powerful guest in David Sampson who represents the opposite of that, and we give him a lot of space to present that opinion, and we don't push back often.
Let's do this.
Thank you, Jess. Tell him, Jess. You're innocent. I'm taking you off.
Go ahead and tell us where our lack of understanding about unions makes a play, Domonique. Please tell us. You say it's not just Mike Schur and Sampson. You've had problems with my depiction sometimes of the union as well.
Well, in general, so like, specifically, we can talk about yesterday with Mike Schur calling for like wildcat strikes, and I'm willing to have beef with anybody, but I'm certainly not looking to have beef with like an incredibly talented comedy writer, because I feel like I might lose that fight. Not literally though, but if you want to see me in the streets, we can knuckle up. But he would probably win in that arena. But the idea, and this is not fair to him, but guaranteed contracts is something that we talk about a lot and blame the NFLPA for not getting guaranteed contracts. The fact of the matter is guaranteed contracts can happen. We've seen it happen. The reason why I don't get guaranteed contracts is because the players and the agents do not go after those guaranteed contracts. In part because the guaranteed contract would change the structure of the contract. our guarantees are signing bonuses. No other league gets that. So what would happen if we mandated guaranteed contracts is all the contracts would get smaller and they would just be the signing bonus then spread out over the course of the entire deal. So that's one of the things. And generally, I don't have a list of the things that make me mad about this show, but generally this show feels like it's for the labor class, like Jess said. But when it comes to sports, the domain that you specialize in, you let David Sampson come on here and spew one particular side of the argument. And I particularly, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I like the word spew.
Yeah, he's a spewer, and I actually like his show, and I think he gives a lot of insight on a lot of different things, but we have to understand that all of us have some biases, and David Sampson's biases leak through, and I may not be able to see them all, but I see them when it's about unions because I know.
What specifically? What's something specific that David Sampson said, or what's the thing that you got the most angry, like you're looking at your phone and I can't believe he said that?
Yeah, I don't really get angry as much as it's just okay, whatever, just dismissive. And I haven't kept a list. I'll go back and listen to some old shows and come back with some better arguments. But in general, I'm not mad at Sampson. I'm not mad at Sure. I'm mad at you guys for not pushing back. And the idea that your show, I didn't hear what you guys said about Aaron Rodgers, but I got in a lot of fights with people yesterday about calling for Aaron Rodgers to do more in the offseason. And that to me seems like because they didn't play well and Aaron Rodgers wasn't at any of the voluntary workouts. And you're a $50 million quarterback. You're supposed to go to all the voluntary workouts. And to me, it feels like you have a job to do. We're paying for that job to do. If you want to add some other obligations, then you need to add those. And I don't want to be on a slippery slope where it's this one guy worked a little bit harder. Oh, well, now everyone has to do this. Oh, now everyone is then we're going to be in a situation where we're like Amazon employees. And it doesn't make sense to me why so often we're on the wrong side of this. We're on the side, we're criticizing Jeff Bezos. But then when it comes to sports, we're Aaron Rodgers didn't work hard enough in the offseason. Stop it. Shut up. He's a 2-time MVP. Leave him alone.
He's won them the last 2 Super Bowls, or the last 2 MVPs. But is that a real criticism, or is that a straw man? That is actually happening. Aaron Rodgers, people don't see that he was throwing to his running backs, and Minnesota was pretty good, and he looked bad, and it might look limited all season, but they don't think he cares enough.
What exactly is he supposed to do during the offseason? Because I'm telling you, that guy is in the best shape of his life. He seemed like he put in a lot of work this offseason on his body.
Well, he's saying playing the games, right? Because the quarterbacks, there were a lot of quarterbacks this weekend who looked bad. Stafford, there were 4 or 5 of them, weren't there? They looked bad after not playing any preseason snaps.
You think that's his call? I think that's an organizational decision.
No, it's not just the preseason snaps. It's about coming to OTAs and voluntary workouts. It's not a straw man. I had a fight with Marcus Spears about it. I had a fight with Chris Canty about it on TV yesterday. It's a real thing. It's you have new receivers. You need to be like Tom Brady and take them out on a high school field and work them into shape. And in my view, that wasn't going to make anyone catch or not drop a wide open pass that was dropped in their lap.
But Dom, isn't that indicative of you being the kind of different former player who actually believes in people having a life and stuff like that? Because most players do have that mentality of you wasn't with us with the hand in the dirt in the trenches and all that in the summertime.
Be more like Tom Brady. Take 11-day sabbaticals
and have be more like Tom Brady and have marital problems at home.
Yeah, I don't actually think most players think like that, honestly. Those were not the locker rooms I was in. Players understood. We would get frustrated at some of the ridiculous things that coaches did. We would just get frustrated at players who were not completely committed when they had to be committed. I've never been on a team where a guy didn't come to voluntary workouts and players rolled their eyes. Most of them were he got the power to do that. I can't wait till I'm good enough to skip these voluntary workouts, because we're working. We care about this more than anybody else cares about it. The parental check-in type of culture that they try to create is frustrating. Most teams I'm on, the guys are you can let the guys who don't care enough not care, because they're going to sort themselves out. The rest of us are going to be here doing the work. And if we can't be here doing the work, we'll be somewhere else doing the work. And that's what it comes down to. That's not a real it's not a real thing. And my biases are on the union side and on the side of labor generally. So I have the same biases that that Samson has. I just play for the good guys.
The poorly named Domonique Foxworth show that is climbing up the rankings. You can get it wherever it is you get your podcasts. It should be called something like What Does the Fox Say? I looked at Mike during that because I wanted to play What Does the Fox Say? He made a dirty look. He did not want to play What Does the Fox Say? Regardless, I'm making an executive decision. We will see who's right. Do we know if Stugotz is alive? Do we know? Do you want to do a stoology? Do you have any interest in? Would you be the speaker at the funeral that tells us how it all went down?
I would love to eulogize our beloved Stugotz. Not today though. My dog ate my homework. I feel like Greg Cody. Instead, I want to yell more about union stuff.
I love a Knives Out. You know, they're making like 100 Knives Out. They should do a Knives Out. Who kills Stugotz? Let's get a Brian Johnson. Let's use our Hollywood connections. Come on, Dan. You're connected.
Can I say this, please?
Please.
No, I can't.
Please say it.
Go ahead.
This is the last thing that I have, and then we can go wherever the show wants to go from there if you'll have me on. The frustration I have about the criticism in general of the NFLPA and unions in general is the expectation that, or the belief that it's a fair playing field. And when there are steps back financially for the players, which has happened to all the leagues, like last time I checked in 2017, I think the NFL players took more revenue from the league as a percentage than the baseball players. But we still talk about the baseball players union as if it's the most powerful union and denigrate the NFLPA. But if you think about the incentives that lie in negotiations, it's like our biggest weapon is a work stoppage. So a work stoppage for players whose careers last on average 3.5 years. And if you get 1%, and this was research I did in 2017 for a piece I wrote, if you get 1% of revenue, that breaks down to $67,000 per player. 1% of revenue at that time was $3.75 million per owner, not just for that year, into perpetuity. And also, when you bring down the cost of your organization, it increases the value of your franchise by billions of dollars. So imagine sitting in a negotiation with people who already have billions of dollars. You have hundreds of thousands of dollars, most of them, and you're like, man, I'm going to skip this entire year of working, which is only, is a third of my working life, in order to get $67,000. And then we come at the players and say, well, you should have hung on and stood up and held out longer. In actuality, the reason why it's hard for the players to win in that situation is the incentive. They don't get to hold on to that position for the rest of their lives or give it to their kids the way the owners do. And they also don't have the financial wherewithal to withstand these work stoppages. So it's an unfair fight. And then people come out and talk about the union as if the union is weak. And the NFLPA is the only union that can financially support itself without dues, with 9-figure money coming off of NFL players, coming off of Players Inc. This is boring to everyone, but I needed to get it off my chest.
I don't think it's boring at all. I think, you also need to add the fact that the owners own these teams usually over the span of a lifetime. So they're able to have these franchises appreciate in value over decades and earn more and more. Whereas, like you pointed out, Domonique, the average league span of a player is around 3 seasons.
Yes, it's kind of like in Lord of the Rings, The Power of the Rings, when the elf comes back to the dwarf. He's like, yo, what's up, man? He's like, I haven't seen you for most of my life. I know for an elf that was like 5 minutes for you, but for me, like I met a girl, I got married,
I've
I had
got
a kid.
kids. I've got dwarf babies.
I don't
exactly
know what any of that means, but it sounds like you're on my side, so thank you.
I found it boring.
Let's bang through some fill in the blanks with football stuff. And Domonique, among the things that made you go, whoa, this weekend that you were surprised by, Julio Jones, is he in the discussion? And where are the other places where you were like, okay, that was super interesting?
Yeah, Julio Jones was not completely shocking. I think Julio has 3 or 4 of those left in him per season. It's going to be shocking if Julio does that all season long, but that's all they need from him. They are bringing in these great receivers, or they're bringing another great receiver because they get injured and they need guys to pop up every now and then and do something special. The Nathaniel Hackett stuff was the biggest shock of the weekend. That just was really embarrassing way to start your 10-year. And he's the son of a coach. He's been around coaching his entire life, and it's not like it was 4th down and then an earthquake happened. You know, like it was not something unpredictable. This was a run-of-the-mill end of the game situation. And then he came back and gave a terrible apology. And I couldn't figure out the perfect analogy because I was on live TV. But the best analogy I came up with was it's like you walked in on your cheating spouse and then you like apologize for them catching you. Because his apology was, yeah, we missed the kick, so I wish we'd have gone for it. No. That wasn't the error. The error was that you didn't go for it. And then the error was that you decided to kick it and you bled the clock down, making it so that you didn't have a second opportunity. That was like mind-blowingly bad to me. And then he doubled down and made it worse.
Did you see on social media, they counted the number of times on the Manning cast that Peyton called timeout. It was 62. He called timeout 62 times.
It was a slow build. He's like, let's call timeout now. I think we should call timeout. Call timeout.
You can't do better analysis than that without a word. It's not possible for you to tell me, if you want to give me good analysis from the booth, don't even give that dude a microphone. Just let him call out 62 times timeout to show you it's a better outrage than the one that Aikman had about what was happening at the end of the game.
It was terrible, and I thoroughly enjoyed. I normally don't watch the Manning cast, but because you get all the clips afterwards, all the important clips afterwards, but I wish I had been watching it live because we'd have been doing the same thing. Because I remember watching, it's like I'm just pantomiming in a hotel by myself and getting frustrated for a team that I played for. But like that's how I know it's really bad, is when I actually care and like I get upset.
So
like
you
I'm
called
a part
some
of it.
timeouts. You were calling timeout.
Weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
I mean, that's the thing. Everybody was like, oh, what's going on? It was so egregious that it had me second guessing myself, where I was like, hold on, am I missing something?
Dom, as a player, when your coach messes up like that, what kind of response? Let's assume he messed up. We're not going to say, oh, wow, I want him to not mess up. He messed up. As a player, what are you looking for him to kind of say or react for you guys?
Yeah, I am not a believer that abdicating responsibility is the right way to go.
I'm telling you, man.
Take responsibility. You got to take responsibility. You got to stand up and say, because those guys are out there. I was thinking about this. Patrick Surtain is going against DK Metcalf. Like, he has to go against that, I don't know, mutant of a human being. And he could miss a play here or there. Nathaniel Hackett, you going against a clock. Like, don't mess that up. And that's the frustrating part, is like, I know what he should have said, and he doesn't have to say it to us or to the media, but in the team meeting is like, I let you guys down. You guys are putting your body out there and doing all this crazy stuff to make this happen, and I let you down. My bad. It'll never happen again. While you're at practice today, I'm going to read a bunch of books on clock management. I'm sorry, guys. I won't be at practice today. You go ahead and do whatever you want. I'm just going to be in the corner reading.
Hang on a second. You said you don't like when people don't, hold themselves accountable for their actions or take responsibility for mistakes. Pew, 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 do you like them? Do you not like those people enough to perhaps murder them? Did you kill?
Are you possibly?
Stugotz?
See, yes.
Film noir.
You don't like laziness. You don't like lies. You don't like that Cody wins every Tuesday.
And your name is not on the innocent list behind you.
That's right. It's not.
Where were you on September 1st?
Can we please analyze how poor a job he did with the space on
How much
his cork
time
board?
did you work on that?
Not much, obviously. The corkboard spacing is terrible.
Smaller is better on TV.
I don't have confidence in you being able to solve this crime just based on the incompetence of the corkboard.
That's what you think. Maybe Jess is right. Maybe I was looking to distract you with my diminutive corkboard because I actually killed Stugotz. And I got a deep fake of fat man pretending to be Stu. And I did it. I'm going to get away now because you guys are busy making fun of my corkboard.
The Domonique Foxworth Show. Get your podcast where it is you get your podcasts. I would like for you to secretly, if you could, on that podcast, rail against Disney because they didn't let you call it what you wanted to call it. Thank you, Domonique.
Bye, guys.
Whitty, what's up with it?
Oh, Jesus. Jesus, Mike.
What is up with it, Whitty? Tell us what is up with it, huh?
Lots of things are up.
All right.
Lots of things are up.
It's been too long, Renee. We have not seen you in way too long. It is good to see you. Montgomery.
What up, fam?
A Montgomery and Company episode is released today. The guest is Gina Prince Blythewood. She's the director of The Woman King. And also, there's a live pregame show tonight on our YouTube page. Tonight's Game 3 of the WNBA Finals. She is here to show Amin how it's done. Amin flails around on the basketball preview shows and postgame shows and sometimes drinks too much, but Renee is here to be a professional and make Meadowlark Media look good.
Never when I'm on the clock, Dan.
Wow, I have a spoiler alert. We're playing a drinking game to start the pregame show. So, I mean, you might want to come through. Snook might just so people know, Montgomery and Co Pod, my sister, my wife, and my mom are co-hosts. So it's like a legit tight-knit group. Snook might be sipping her tea, but I can guarantee you that Juju, who's coming over tonight, Serena, Cole, they are going to have a little something in their cup.
What time? What time are we starting? I will be there. Send me the link.
8:15.
I'm
So
just
the
drinking a
WNBA
drink, by the
game
way.
tonight is game 3. It's a deciding game in the WNBA. So we have a 5-game series. Unfortunately, the Vegas Aces are 2-0, so this could be the game that decides who the champions is. So the game starts at 9 p.m. on ESPN, and we start at 8:15. We're tailgating, a Moco tailgate.
All right, you guys need to follow what it is that they're doing because it is a family affair. And tonight at 8:15 on the YouTube channel, Renee will host. She hosts stuff for the Hawks. The other day, I'm playing a word game on my computer. She comes up in a commercial for it. She's sitting. I mean, it's all style everywhere I look. So we're grateful for her doing this for us tonight at 8:15.
Renee, what are your favorite tailgate snacks? We all love tailgating in here. So what do you normally what are your favorite like chip and dip combos?
Ooh, chip and dip combo. So it depends. Like if I'm at home and I know who's making the meat, I'm going to have a loaded nachos. I'll probably have some ground meat because actually we put chicken on our tacos, so we don't actually even do ground beef. But I was going to say my best snack for tailgate is ribs because that's what I'm ordering tonight. But that's not
snack. Hold on.
Yeah, it is ribs.
Ribs?
Little rib.
It's a snack for
rib
me.
tips. Y'all ever had the little rib tips? They put the little thing in it.
Yes,
Burnt ends.
Ribs are definitely a snack.
Yeah. By the way, we buried
Eat
the
it with
lead.
your hands.
We buried the lead. Have an evening, Dan LeBatard playing computer word games. Wow.
It sounds lovely.
Hey, I'm worried.
No,
Slow down.
here's the best part. He texted me. He was like, "Hey, I'm playing this little game or whatever, and I just saw you go across my screen." I thought the same thing. Actually, like, what little games is Dan playing in his free time? Like, he never names it. What game?
I'm worried about you. You're burning the candle, my friend.
What game was it?
I was
Don't
so
name it.
delighted that the ad, you guys have seen these. Whatever.
2048?
This is a word scramble game. It's just find a bunch of words in 2 minutes. But when it goes, the reason it's given to me for free is so they can bombard me with Renee Montgomery advertising. I did not know you were in that ad. How much of that is coming your way these days, by the way, Renee? Because it's got to be, there has to be a great deal of joy since you weren't able to make NIL money while you were making a bunch of money for your school in being able to capitalize on your name and likeness now.
No, it's lit. And the thing about it is that I like is that for people like AT&T, they were sponsors of my gala. So they were our principal sponsor of the RMF gala, but then they came in and then they sponsored our small business RME. And then they also came in on the podcast, Dan, and they became sponsors of Montgomery & Co., just so you know. So I like kind of how that works, where brands just come in and they're like, yeah, we want to like lean in on everything. And I'm like, that's what's up, because I didn't get none of them ducats. I see the millions going around right now. It's nuts. So yeah, I'm happy for the young bulls though that are in college getting money, but yeah, I love it. It's great. Everybody eats.
Can you tell us whether tonight you're going to be toggling back and forth between the WNBA game and Thursday Night Football on Amazon?
Listen, it's always a fight over the TVs. That's why we have two now. So Thursday Night Football will have to be on the small TV, but the WNBA is going to be live and in living color. I think that, I don't know if people have been watching the WNBA, but it's been as star-studded as you would expect the finals to be. I believe there were like 15 NBA players at the last game. Kyle Lowry, there was a whole large group of them. John Morant. I'm going to forget a lot of names. Tyronn Lue is a coach, but like it's star-studded. It's a big event. So we want to kind of give it the energy that, to your point, Dan, that I give to the Hawks, and I host a lot of the Hawks things. Also the Falcons. I just started doing stuff with the Falcons. So yeah, we want to show love to the to the WNBA.
Look at me, Louise. I thought we had a look at me, Louise sounder that we were working on because anytime someone brags around here, we like to hit them with it.
It might be the first time I wasn't calling for look at me, Louie. I was calling for Rise Up because he works for the Falcons.
Oh,
I said Rise Up. Rise Up.
Yes, let's break this clip down again, because this was to me the highlight of the Falcons falconing this weekend. There was a bearded drunk person being very loud and was not and really disrespectful to Anthony Mackie in a way that was funny.
If you're a celebrity, we're on the Avengers, you ain't welcome. Rise up, baby. Rise, Anthony Mackie. Show your face if you're going to rep the Saints in Atlanta. We don't want you. Rise up, baby. Let's go. Rise up.
You're disappointing your father. He raised you to be better than this.
Oh.
Be a better man.
Hey.
Be the best man that you can be.
Rise up, baby.
Be a better man.
Rise up.
You're disrespecting your father.
Rise up.
Your father's sad.
You disrespecting Atlanta. When you're in the A, you represent the A.
Sir, I'm sorry that your sperm turned out to be
He's sorry he's an Aints fan. Rise up, baby. We don't want you. You ain't welcome. Rise.
Listen, I done got about that Atlanta. I'm going to tell y'all, because we lost by 1 point in a heartbreaker, and I was still turned up after the game. Like, we just had the most lit party. So that's very Atlanta of us, I think, now at this point, because we did lose, and I was still turned up after the game.
What are you doing for the Falcons, and is there a better rivalry in that city than Falcons Saints?
Oh, man, I don't know if you can get better than that, because even as we were going to the game, there were like tailgates all down the streets, and the tailgates were actually Saints fans. So I was like, wow, like they traveled here to turn up in the city, even though they weren't even going to the game. So I thought that was crazy. It was 71,000 people in there. Like Saints came through. They probably had a good 5,000 in the arena. It felt like they made some noise, but what I'm doing now is kind of the same things I do with the Hawks, like activations. I did the like get turned up thing in the stadium. So that was pretty cool. But hey, where's that music at? I'm not trying to brag, but if y'all gonna do it, y'all better throw some of that music in there. Don't sleep on me here. Yes. So I'm trying to be all things Atlanta, Dan. What's up? Same thing like y'all in Miami.
But explain to people, for those who do not know, explain to people why and how Atlanta feels about the Saints the way they do. I know that Bomani, for whatever the reason is, really, really likes to bury Saints fans more than any other fans.
I think it's like, this might not be a common thought, but I feel like a lot of times you fight with people you're most similar to. So we're both a melting pot of a city. We both had that. And so we both are, the Saints have had more success than us, I might say, but it doesn't matter because it's the head-to-head challenges. It's the people against the people. Like, he didn't care that Anthony Mackie was a Avengers. He was like, listen. So I think that's what makes the rival so great. I just go all things the A. I know it goes deep for some people, but for me, it's like I turn up for the A. That's it.
Rise up!
Are you a Braves fan? Do you rise up for the Braves as well?
Rise up!
Well, listen, this Friday, Serena's singing the anthem for the Braves. So I'm turned up for the Braves. We're going to be in the building for the Braves this Friday as well.
Look at me,
She's on a roll.
Man, oh man, she really is.
Rise up!
Listen, Dan's throwing the alley-oops. What's up? We going to what's up, Dan?
You are thundering them down like Giannis. You are catching that thing right here.
Let's go. And Serena's a co-host on Montgomery Co Pod for people that don't know. So she'll be there tonight sipping on some scissor. Not really.
Whoa.
Is she nervous about singing tonight? How did it come to be that she was singing the anthem at tonight's Braves game?
Well, let me educate you heathens. Today is the first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. It goes from the 15th to the 15th. So she sung for the Braves multiple times before. This isn't her first time. So I wouldn't say nervous. She just sung for the Dream. What's up? Where's the music at? She just sung for the Dream. She sang for the Hawks. She going back to the Braves. Yeah, so I don't know if I would say nervous, but we're excited to go to the game and turn up.
She's really nailing she's got a TikTok dance in her that's based on that music, because I don't know, is that you guys breathing hard? Like, what's that sound at the end of Look at Me, Louie? The sound of the air leaving the broadcast. Look at me, Louie. Yeah, what is that?
Louis. He definitely put something behind it.
He's Metallica now.
He was feeling himself. You could tell on that part.
Andrew Streeter, man.
So for you're serious that basically Serena's going to go straight from singing the anthem to the live broadcast tonight, correct?
No, the game is on Friday. So the broadcast is today. Turn up today, but the game is on Friday.
Oh, my bad. I heard you wrong. I thought she was doing the anthem today. So thank you, Renee. It's always good catching up with you, and find her, will you, tonight at 8:15 on our YouTube channel.
The LeBatard Show YouTube page. Give me my anthem on the way out, because I like that.
Look at me,
Louie. and Mike, give me one too, because I said I'll be there too.
Look at me,
Rise up!
Tell us more about how you've never been tailgating.
I know, that was such a move at the beginning of that. Hey guys, you guys are talking about tailgating? Let's make it about me.
Rise up!